How old were you when you were adopted?
Yeah, there's a question. Got to think back a bit further than you. So that was me and my twin sister, because I've got a twin sister, Kate, and we were adopted about 14 weeks old. When my mum first gave birth to us, we were with her for about 10 days, and then with a foster mum for a few weeks, and then they found us our home.
Did you feel like you were at home?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because that's, I guess, all you know, really, isn't it? That's because we were adopted quite young as babies. That's all I really remember. So I guess I guess that was always felt like home.
Did you call them Mum and Dad?
Yes, we did. Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because when you're adopted, I don't know if you ever have this, but sometimes people say, "Oh, what? So, you're with foster parents?" I'm like, no, we're with adopted parents, you know.
Yeah.
And so they've always been Mum and Dad.
What did your parents do to make you feel happy?
Sweets. What did your mum give you to make you feel happy?
Takes me out to nice places.
Really?
Yeah.
Like
Like the cinema and stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Where did we used to go? We used to go out to the fair and things like that, and get candy floss. And there used to be like a steam rally near where we live. So it was like, really old steam engines. They used to have like these kind of, in a place called Knoll Hill, which isn't so far away from Oxford. It's out in Buckinghamshire. And it was a big steam rally, and they had a massive fair as well. So, and I was fascinated with steam engines and old organs, that play music. And I was just absolutely, obsessed with these things. So we'd always have like an hour or two there, and then we'd go to the fair, go out, take Dad on the Dodgems and go up on the dive bomber and have a good time. So I remember that as a really, when you sort of go to, there's one place that really sticks out that you went to when you were young, and it makes you smile thinking about it. And I think that was it. And to this day, I still love going to a fair.
What is your best memory of growing up?
I'll have to have a think about that one. That's a really, really good question. You put me right on the spot. Could you think of one thing if I said to you?
Yeah.
What is it?
I went to see my grandma for the first time.
Wow.
Because I didn't actually know she was going to be my grandma, because I don't know if I was actually adopted then, but when you go and visit. Mm-hmm. And I went there and I was saying to everyone, "Oh yeah, that's my grandma."
No way.
Yeah.
That feel amazing. I can tell by that smile on your face. Wow. And do you still see her?
Yeah.
A lot, yeah?
Did you ever think about your birth parents?
Ever think about them? Yeah, because I suppose you do, because you want to know where you came from, I suppose. And you also want to see a likeness, because me and my sister don't look at all like our parents. And that's not, it's not a problem now, but I think when I was younger, I was quite aware, even though they were wonderful and they are incredible people, and we had a very happy childhood, but I couldn't get away from the fact that personally I just felt because I didn't look like them, I felt quite different. So you think about your birth parents and you kind of want to see where you came from. So when we first met him, I looked very like him. It was my sister was like, "Oh my God, you look so like him, it's ridiculous." And she looks like our birth mum. I don't look like her.
Yeah.
That quite excited feeling, I kind of got that sort of thing, yeah.
How did you feel about being adopted when you were my age?
We were just talking about this, weren't we, before we started filming, because you're really open about it, aren't you? You talk about it, which is a really good thing, really good thing. I felt I was quite embarrassed to begin, at times. I'll be totally honest, there's no point in me saying how I did feel. I felt just because I suppose because I felt a bit different. But my sister was fantastic. She talked about it and she was very open about it. And I am now, very much so. But I just was a little bit went into myself whenever the subject came up, because it made me feel different to everybody else. And I was just very worried that people might, pick on me, and they did do a bit at school when I was growing up. But people do that for all sorts of reasons. That's part of school, isn't it, Yeah. But yeah, so I didn't, but I've learned to talk about it a lot more. And I think it's really good to do that, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like some people don't understand, because in primary school, like, people, they didn't really make fun of me, but they would like always talk about it and be like, oh yeah, at least like that's not your real mum, because they don't understand. And then one day he just asked me and he was like, oh, that's actually quite cool, because he didn't understand. So he just said those things because he didn't understand.
Brilliant. So just purely because you didn't know what adoption was about, he was just saying it without knowing, but when he knew,
yeah,
that made it make sense. Well, that's really good. And then they stopped saying stuff.
And like, did people treat you any differently?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple of guys at school that used to just come up every now and again and go, oh, you're adopted, and which was not very nice when you're younger, and I would go into myself and go really, really quiet. And it might be in school, like in the playground, and I wouldn't know what to do. And because I wasn't very good at talking to other people about it, not a lot of my friends knew. So I couldn't really go off to them, because that would mean then I'd have to explain it to them. So I just ended up keeping it to myself. There's really only a couple of friends that knew about it, really. And a couple of guys at school who were sort of bullies. But in the end, it's funny how you sort of, because I suppose being adopted, because you've been specially sort of chosen, it's quite a nice thing.
Yeah.
I suppose, isn't it? So it's kind of, I came round to that way of thinking in the end. But it's really cool that, so your kind of experiences at school, quite a positive one, you haven't had too many problems with it?
No. Like now, like in secondary school, it's much better, because like people are more mature, so they know more now.
Do you find your friends at school, people, do they know about adoption? Do they know what it means and stuff? Do they get it?
Yeah, like some people know, like some people actually do know, and then some people are like, oh, so you're fostered? And I'm like, no, I'm adopted. And it was like, so do you not live with your real mum? And I was like, yeah, she is my real mum, because she's my mum.
Exactly. I go through that so many times. Do you know what? Literally, I think yesterday, somebody said exactly that. So, she's your foster mum? No, they're not or foster parents. No, they're not. Those are my parents. So adoption is, from that moment on, after the court decision been made, you are theirs, and that's that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas I think, you're right, people don't quite understand that. But going back to your experience at primary school, I think it's because of education, people don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily their fault, but I've had that so many times. It takes a little bit of explaining.
Do you think being adopted has had an influence on you?
Oh, massively. Hugely. But I think it's quite a lot to deal with, isn't it? Do you find it's quite complex, isn't it? It's quite a lot going on, when you sort of think about it and get used to the situation and stuff like that. But I think over time that kind of broadened your mind quite a lot, probably strengthened it. Yeah. Even though those sort of those moments you go through at school and stuff, which are awkward or whatever, I think in time then that gives you a bit of steel.
Yeah.
I'm much more open about it. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to do this chat, I shouldn't think, about 15 years ago, but I'm happy to do it now. And you're very good at interviewing as well.
Did you feel different, or did you feel special?
A bit of both. I always felt different because I looked different to my parents and was very different in personality and stuff like that. But they always made us feel special. What
is your greatest achievement?
Completing the London Triathlon last year. There's a few greatest achievements, probably. I think getting on to do radio, because that's what I always wanted to do. From when I was a young lad, I always, like when you turn the radio on and you hear a tune that you like, and it makes you feel good. And I loved the impact that has on people. I was like, I want to be that person that makes me feel good. I want to be able to play the records and say stuff and, make somebody have a happier day for whatever, And so my mum used to take me up to the local hospital when I was like 13, 14. Not because I was injured or anything, but there was a radio station there. So I'd go up and I'd go around the wards and I'd take the requests and then go back and give them to the presenter and they play the tunes out. And I just loved all that. So then I went on to do what I do. I now do what I always dreamt of doing, and the job I always wanted to do. So I'm very lucky. It's probably my biggest achievement, I think.
Is there anything else you wanted to be growing up?
I wanted to be a pilot. Doesn't every boy? I wanted to be in the fly fast planes in the Navy, but I don't think my eyesight would have been good enough. It wouldn't have been for me, I think. I think what I do now is, I always wanted to do it. I had a real feeling I wanted to, do you know, I think probably born out of being adopted to an extent, because you feel like, I suppose as a kid, because I was aware that I was different, a little bit different to my parents, I wanted to impress them and make them happy. And I suppose there's a continuation of that, in a sense, that to fulfill that bit in me, you know, broadcasting to a lot of people and making a lot of people happy kind of just makes me feel good as well. So it probably comes from the adoption to an extent, wanting to be loved. Is that fair to say? Maybe there's a little bit of that. You maybe try harder with your family because they're not your natural family, because you want to make them, you want to feel like you belong, possibly. Yeah. So it's probably a continuation of that, I think.
What was your biggest challenge to overcome?
Deciding whether or not we wanted to see our birth parents. Because it's quite a big thing to do that.
Yeah.
But luckily, having a twin sister, we had each other so we get, shall we? Yeah, no. And we'd be like, let's do it. No. And then we get really nervous and get really worried about it and think, no, we can't do it. And the longer time went on, it became a bit harder. But then I remember the day very clearly, we decided, do you know what? Let's do it. Because, you know, you find yourself being very curious. Because you have a lot of questions, don't you?
Yeah.
That you want to ask. And I think that was probably the biggest thing to overcome, to get to the point where we were ready to go and do that, to meet our maker. Yeah. Tummy mummy, I think they call them, don't they? So yeah. And we did that, and it's probably a good thing that we did.
Yeah, like, I'm still like trying to decide if I want to meet my birth parents.
Really?
I've met them, but I don't actually really know them.
Okay, so you've met them both once?
Yeah.
And how did you feel with them?
No, not like recently, but like obviously because I used to live with my birth mum.
Yeah.
And like my birth dad used to sometimes be there.
Right.
But like I don't even remember that. So like I'm still deciding, because like sometimes I just think, do I really want this? But then if you don't meet them, then you might regret that.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Is there anything you want to ask them? Is there anything, do you have questions for them?
Yeah. But like you can't just find that out, because like some things like you know when you're adopted, sometimes you can't know everything until you're over 18.
Yes, that's right.
Like even if they can't tell me those questions, I still want to know answers.
You want to know answers? Yeah, sure. And does your mum know you want to do that as well?
Well, yeah, she's like, if you want to, you can just tell me, because like she doesn't mind. Yeah. That's
really important, having that, I think, isn't it? Because our parents were always, from as far back as I can remember, were open about it, and also said we'll always support you if you want to go and find them, your birth parents, go and talk to them. But then there was an element of guilt, feeling you wanted to do that, because we didn't want them to think, oh my God, they're going to leave, they want to go find another mum and dad. It was never that at all. I think, as well as them saying, we're right behind you if you want to go and find them, we were also saying back to them, yes, but promise that it's just, these are questions we need to ask, just out of our curiosity, we have the right to know things. But it's not about, we're not stepping out of the family, you know, you always are mum and dad. Do you know what I mean? Just to kind of, to get over that sort of guilt that we had, or a little bit of. That's really good that, you know, you kind of want to do that. And
like, I used to, it's not like really the same, but like, when I used to go to contact, and then like, I felt like I was like, not like when you was like stepping out of the family, but like going off with them for the whole day, it feels weird. Because you feel like you're not part of your family, but you're still in the family.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Was that a bit confusing sometimes?
Yeah, and I used to like go back to my mum who adopted me, and I would be like, not angry, but I would sometimes be angry, because I used to think Even though I was angry because of the fact, like, why is this happening? But I was still happy that I was adopted, and I used to take it out on her, even though it wasn't her fault.
Yeah, I get that.
Then I realised if it wasn't for her, then I wouldn't be happy. Stuff.
There you go. That's a beautiful thing. It's like adoption's been brilliant, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Your mum sounds amazing.
She is.
She sounds really, really cool. Hey, my mum will have to get together with your mum. We go out and buy shoes and stuff, and trainers and everything. No, that sounds really, really good. And it sounds like your mum is kind of she encourages you to be open about it.
Yeah.
Does she about adoption? Do you sit and have chats about it, or?
Yeah, she like never wants me to like feel bad about myself because of it. She wants me to always look forward to stuff. Yeah.
She sounds really cool. What's her name?
Elsa.
Elsa, amazing.
What's the best advice you've ever been given?
Somebody, when I started doing, this would be before you were born actually, but I used to do like kids telly on the BBC, and when I first started doing that, I've always been fairly, some people call me hyper or whatever, or quite energetic, quite always optimistic, always kind of bouncing around and with ideas and lots of energy and stuff. And one of the people that worked in the office at the BBC way back then when I was like 20 years old or something said, never stop being like that, never stop being yourself, you know, because that's how you are and that's what people like about you. And I guess you can never stop the way you're going to be. I've never stopped being like that. I'm probably slightly calmer, but not a lot. If you give me enough sweets, I'll be on the roof. But no, so I think just to be true to yourself, you know, and that was somebody at my first sort of big work. I think that was quite important.
What advice can you give me?
What advice would I give you?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you don't need a lot, actually. You're very grounded for 13. You're amazing. You're very intelligent and very bright and lovely, and I think your mum's got a lot to do with that, hasn't she? You know, she's obviously really brought you up so well, and you seem happy and very together. So I don't know how much advice I really need to give you, but just keep being positive about it, keep embracing those positive thoughts about how special you are for lots of reasons, and an adoption is one of those things. And yeah, that's it really. And definitely pursue being a journalist, because I think you'd be very, very good. Have you thought about what you want? You asked me, what have you thought about what you'd like to be?
I want to work in a kennel.
Do you like dogs? Wow, well that's a caring job, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really, really good. Well, if that fails, I think you should look at having your own TV show, to be honest. I think one-on-one interviews are I think you could do very well at that. But because you keep being yourself.
What advice would you give someone thinking about adopting a child?
Don't rush into it. Get all the advice you need. I think probably chatting to other people that have adopted is probably a good thing. Because although it's a wonderful thing to take a kid and to bring them up and give them everything you've got, I think it's, you know, it's not all plain sailing, but then it never is, whether your child's adopted or not, you know. But I think there will be added things that, you know, you have to be aware of if you're taking a child with other traits and genes, everything. Do you know what I mean? Just to be very open about it and to just be ready for certain things to maybe happen. And once you've got all that knowledge together and you're still really ready and 100% want to do it, then do it. And I think people that do are incredibly special and one of a kind, really. It's probably the most amazing thing you can do, isn't it? Adopt a child. I think it's been positive for you and me, right? So it could be positive for a lot of other people.